Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thanksgiving's right around the corner, so I thought I would show you this really quick, really easy macaroni and cheese recipe that most likely will impress even the roughest critic. So let's get right into it. Here, let's go ahead. I'm gonna use 1 pound of mozzarella. I'm gonna freshly grate it, and I'm gonna use 1 pound of sharp cheddar. Freshly grated works best. Today I only had bag cheese, so I'm going to use 1 pound of that also. So let's get that shredded, set it aside, go to room temperature. I got some boiling water. I'm adding some salt and chicken broth to it to give my noodles some extra flavor. This recipe is all about building flavors. I'm going to use 1.5 box elbow macaroni, add it to my rolling boil. And I'm going to cook this until they're al dente, about 7 to 8 minutes. Next, I'm going to drain. I'm not going to rinse. I'm going to leave them hot because I want that starch in there. To this, we're going to start building our layers. I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to give that a stir. I want to make sure that my noodles are well coated. I want everything I add to it now to be able to stick to the noodles. Next, I'm going to add about 2 scoops, probably about 1.5 cups of sour cream. That sour cream is going to make this recipe very creamy. It's also going to add a little twang to it and bring the flavors out. Next, we're going to go through our seasonings. I'm going to put in roughly about 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. I really want to build these flavors up because there's a lot of noodles in there. I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of onion powder. Get it in there. Want to make sure this macaroni and cheese is well seasoned so the flavors come out. I'm going to add about the same amount, about 2 tablespoons, maybe a little more of black pepper. I'm going to also add just a little bit of seasoned salt. Don't really need too much because these cheeses have a salty taste to it, so we don't want to go overboard. Just want to give it enough to bring the flavor out. And I'm going to add it up a little bit of paprika. Now I'm seasoning my noodles, but I'm also going to do the same thing and season my custard when we make that in the next step. So give this everything a stir and make sure this is well blended. All right. Now I'm going to take my shredded cheese, sharp cheddar cheese, and I'm going to blend that right with my noodles. I'm going to reserve me a little bit of shredded cheddar cheese just for the topping. But I want to go ahead and give this a stir, and I want to do this while my noodles are still warm because I want that cheese, which is at room temperature, to melt in with these noodles that are just come out. And I want it to kind of go ahead and bind to my noodles. That's why I didn't rinse it off, and that's why I want it to stay hot. Again, we're building flavors, getting all this nice gooey scrumptiousness into these noodles. So now my noodles have already are flavorful. You can eat this just like this. They're well seasoned, they're flavored, we got cheese in it. Let's go ahead and set it aside and start working on our custard. All right, let's start by cracking 3 eggs into a bowl. Give them a good beating so they're well beaten. That ought to do it. Next, let's go ahead and add 1 pint of heavy cream. Now listen, you can use half and half for this recipe. I like to make my own half and half. So here I'm using 1 pint of heavy cream along with 1 pint of whole milk to incorporate my half and half. Because not all half and halves are created equal and not all of them have the same consistency, so I like to create my own. So we're gonna add, again, our seasonings back to this. Same seasonings we use for our noodles. We're gonna add that to our custard. So there was 1 tablespoon of onion powder, approximately 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. It's gonna go in there now. We're gonna add 1 tablespoon of black pepper. I'm using the restaurant style pepper with the, just a little bit larger granules. We're gonna also add in just a smidget more of the seasoned salt and just a smidget more of the paprika just for color. Because once again, all we're doing is we want to build flavors. And we don't want to, when we add this custard, it drowns out the flavor of the noodles. So we're seasoning them both. Go ahead and give it a quick stir and get everything incorporated. Okay, let's add in the remainder, another cup and a half, another cup of our sour cream. It's gonna go into our custard. Give that a mix until it's well blended, and we're good to go. Take about 2 tablespoons of butter, and we're gonna well grease our baking dish. We're gonna get every nook and cranny and make sure every part of this is well greased. Meanwhile, in the background, I've set my oven to 375 degrees. It's currently preheating, and we're gonna get this in the oven at 375. All right, first things first, let's start with a layer of noodles. I'm gonna use about half of the amount of noodles that I have. I'm gonna put about half on the bottom layer and get that coated in there. I'm telling you, this just already smells good. With that cheese and the garlic that's melting into those noodles, they already smell good. All right, let's take that grated mozzarella that we processed and just go ahead and add that on top of the first layer of noodles. Now, you can also add a little bit more sharp cheddar here if you want, but it's gonna affect the consistency just a little bit. So I just like to just go with the mozzarella right here, just for the stringiness and the gooiness. So I'm gonna take and pour half of the custard over the mixture right now. And then I'm just gonna repeat. I'm gonna use the rest of my noodles, put those over top. Get it all in there and even it out. Looking good. Let's come back over it with the mozzarella cheese. This is the top layer. I'm gonna also be adding some sharp cheddar to the top as well. Getting it all in there. It's all about building flavors. All about getting this thing well incorporated. Looking good. People make a lot of fuss about using a lot of cheeses, a lot of different style of cheeses, but I'm gonna tell you, sharp cheddar and mozzarella is really all you need for a good Southern style macaroni and cheese dish. Now, if you want to do a smoked macaroni and cheese, yeah, by all means, do smoked Gouda, some other smoked cheeses. But for a good classic Southern style macaroni and cheese, all you really need is some sharp cheddar and some mozzarella. Okay, let's pour the remaining of our custard over the top. Here's a tip, and I forgot to do this. Stir your custard up each time you're about to pour some in there, because all those seasonings that we put in there kind of fell to the bottom, and I kind of wanted to stir those up to get all that well incorporated before I pour it on there. And that's it. Make sure everything is well incorporated, and we're gonna go and hit it with a little bit of garnish. This is just some dried parsley flakes. I'm gonna put over the top just for presentation purposes. Add a little bit of color to it. And then I'm gonna hit it with a little bit of the paprika. Again, just to add a little bit of color. All right, my buzzer is going off. My oven is up to temp. We're set at 375. Let's get it in the oven for about 45 minutes to an hour. And bam, here we go. This has been in there 1 hour, and now it looks absolutely, it smells amazing. It looks absolutely wonderful. I recommend that you check it at the 45-minute mark. You see if it's bubbling. I got a nice crust. I'm just testing it here. Now listen, we don't want to cut into this just yet. I want to let this rest for about 15 to 20 minutes and let everything settle and let all that, settle back down and incorporate. It's piping hot, and we were doing ourselves an injustice if we cut it too soon. This is the finished product. Baked macaroni and cheese, Southern style. I tell you, this will impress even the harshest macaroni and cheese critics. Look at that. Perfect macaroni and cheese, not too dry, nice and cheesy. Got a little crust over the top. Hey, make this recipe for Thanksgiving. Enjoy.